Complain, complain, complain. You're always the same. You will never change. All you do is complain. You complain about the things I cook. You complain about the way I look. You complain about the clothes I wear. And you don't like my hair. You complain because I don't work. You say I'm a no good jerk. And then I go to work and you go berserk. Complain, complain, complain. You're always the same. You will never change. All you do is complain.
Don't draw conclusions, because if you do, you're going to be wrong. You can draw them if you want and just be wrong. I guess you all don't have any consequences for being wrong.
From the Spring Hill Toyota Traffic Center.
And we've got an accident affecting both the east and westbound lanes of Navarre Parkway at Joe Tam Lane. Also watch for an accident South Blue Angel Parkway at Dog Track Road. Some slowing on Highway 98 from Daphne to I-10. It's an 8-minute drive. With Time Saver Traffic, I'm Lisa Baque.
This report is sponsored by the Tudor Dixon Podcast.
The headlines are serious and the stakes are real. Join me on the Tudor Dixon Podcast as we break down the fallout from the ICE shooting in Minnesota, what happens next in Venezuela, and how fast New York City could crumble with Mamdani in charge. Listen and subscribe to the Tudor Dixon Podcast on the iHeartRadio app, Apple Podcasts, or wherever you get your podcasts.
If you see traffic trouble, call the Acadian Windows traffic tip line at pound 250, keyword total traffic when prompted. Acadian Windows, your hurricane protection specialists.
Now, here's your chance to win $1,000. Just enter this nationwide keyword on our website. Money. That's money. Enter it now at newsradio710.com. The Uncle Henry Show. Weekday afternoons from 5 till 7.
Hello, Uncle Henry. I was just sitting here listening and wishing that it was time for the Uncle Henry Show to come on. I'm jonesing for some Uncle Henry Show. Thank you.
This is the Uncle Henry Show here on News Radio 710 WNTM. Thank you so much for listening to the Uncle Henry Show. I appreciate it very, very much. I really do. Paycheck's still important. Yes, income still important. Wealth is nice, but income essential. And I appreciate very much the income provided by your listenerhood to the Uncle Henry Show. Once again, here we are together, me and you, just the two of us, trying to figure out what is going on. What is going on in the world today? What is going on in the world, in the country, in our community? We'll try and figure it out together. If there's something you want to bring up to the Uncle Henry Show, you can, 251-479-2723. That's 251-479-2723. Email address, unclehenry@iheartmedia.com. That's unclehenry@iheartmedia.com. Now, before I go, I got all kind of things to talk about. As you might imagine, the country seems to be in turmoil, which seems to be now the usual state of the country. Got all this turmoil going on in the country. Alabama legislature, the incredibly annoying Alabama legislature, going back into session tomorrow, or they're getting underway this week at some point. All that going on, violence in Mobile. We got all these things going on, along with Mardi Gras and other good things going on. But let me go to the voicemail. Yes, I got a voicemail this afternoon This is a very, very brief message that was phoned into the Uncle Henry Show voicemail.
Roll Tide, huh? Hell, how was your weekend? Did you spend it watching the Golden Globes? Neither did I. That's about some sorry television as there ever was, you know it?
Yes. 68-year-old Chris of West Loxley phoning that in. 68-year-old Chris, thank you for the Roll Tide, of course. Roll Tide, roll! Back to you. And you asked me how I spent my weekend. Well, let's see, Friday, I was very blessed to go and have dinner with Ryan Pablo Foster, a former Mobile radio professional. Had a wonderful time hearing some old radio stories with Ryan Pablo Foster and our lovely wives. I got a text this morning from him suggesting that he and I not talk so much about radio the next time we get together with our wives. So apologies to our wives for that. Then Saturday, I went to a birthday dinner that a family member was celebrating a birthday, and we went and celebrated a birthday. Then yesterday, I was in downtown Mobile at 4 o'clock in the afternoon for the premiere of John Miller's new movie. John Miller, a filmographer, documentarian, TV commercial maker. He has a new film out, John Miller, called Puppets of Oz, that features Killer Bees as the Scarecrow, Sock Cop as the Cowardly Lion, and me as the Tin Woodsman. And it was just had a wonderful time. A wonderful weekend. Thank you for asking. We saw it at that Crescent Theater in downtown Mobile. But you asked me, you said, you asked me, did I spend it watching the Golden Globes? I'll tell you this. I saw a little bit of that, and I felt like I needed to take a shower after looking at it. It was so sickening. These award shows like the Golden Globes, to me, the older I get, the more it seems like the fall of Babylon. It looks like I'm watching the fall of a civilization of degenerates. That's what it looks like. It looks like this is a representation of modern culture. Modern culture has become nothing but filth and degeneracy, and the heathenistic degenerates are up there giving each other these golden awards and all this. It felt like watching Satanism is what it felt like. It did. It was nasty. I saw a little bit of the Golden Globes, and I felt bad. I felt bad for myself that I did it, and I felt bad for the country, that these are the freaks that are churning out what they call entertainment, and people are watching it, all this kind of filth. That was depressing. The rest of my weekend was great, but that award show, filth, nastiness. Shame on CBS for putting it on there. All right, let's got a caller. Hello, caller.
Hey, Uncle Henry.
Yes, sir.
I got a question for you. I heard something disturbing on the radio. I just don't know if it's true or not, but I had heard that Dolly Parton has said that she was going to take care of this woman's family that attacked these ICE agents and pay for the kids' education and all that other kind of stuff. Did you hear anything like that?
I did not hear that. I have not heard that. I've heard news about Dolly, but I haven't heard that about Dolly taking care of the woman that tried to run over the ICE agent.
Yeah, they said she was offering to help pay for a funeral and turn around and offering to help pay for the children's education and all that.
All right, well.
I just find that very disturbing, that she would offer to do that, considering, this person basically broke the law and did, and caused this on herself, and to have basically just going against our law enforcement. For her to be an outstanding person in the community, especially in Tennessee, and to do something like that, I mean, it makes me not want to, visit her park or go to any of her stuff in Tennessee. If she supports an anti-ICE mentality, I think that's horrible.
Well, I've done a quick news search. I cannot find that story, but I will look more to see if it's true.
Well, I appreciate it, because I don't want to hold anything against her. I mean, because you hear a lot of stuff that's not true. But I mean, if she did do that, then she should just own it and say it, so that so that us people who support ICE and everything, that we know that that's not what she believes in. Because I think that's really disturbing that she would not support ICE and would be basically wanting to support people that are out there, causing all these problems.
Yeah, well, sir, again, I did a quick search while you're on the phone, and so far no news items pop up about Dolly Parton doing that. But they may be behind you. She may have announced this on social media, and I'm not looking in the right place. But I'll continue to look, sir, and I will see what I can find out.
Sounds good. Appreciate it.
All right, thank you very much for your phone call. See, Dolly is about to turn 80. Now, I did see Dolly Parton in the news today. She's about to turn 80, and she has already told that the Grand Ole Opry is going to have a big birthday celebration for Dolly Parton with a bunch of stars there to sing Dolly Parton songs. And Dolly is not going to be able to make it to that because of her health. Dolly Parton she's having some health issues. But, sir, thank you for your call. Back with more Uncle Henry Show after the break.
Now, here's your chance to win $1,000. Just enter this nationwide keyword on our website. Money. That's money. Enter it now.
Getting word of an accident in Pensacola, North New Warrington Road at Mobile Highway. Some slowing on Highway 31 from Highway 59 to Spanish Fort. It's a 14-minute drive. South on Highway 59 from I-10 to Gulf.
YouTube viewers, let me see if anybody is watching on YouTube. In fact, let's see if I'm actually on YouTube. I am. There's a small number of people watching. Hello to Bama Big Man, Chuck, bringing his maturity and common sense to the chat. Reagan Girl, hello to you. 68-year-old Chris of West Loxley. Ben Griffin. Thank you, Ben Griffin, for looking in. Spencer Smith, the very aggressive drummer. KP of shirtbutter.com. Very sorry to hear about your pet, KP. Very sorry. Lost a pet recently myself, and I know what that, and understand you've had yours for quite some time. So very, very sorry to hear about that. Norman Richardson, Larry Morting, thank you to these, Sharon of Fairhope, thank you to the small number of people that are looking in on the Uncle Henry Show on YouTube. Now, let's see. Is there anything I can tell you about while waiting to go back on the radio? No, I don't. I do see a lot of country music-oriented news because of my KSJ jobs, but I have not seen any Dolly getting involved in that. Now, I wouldn't be surprised if she was donating to take care of somebody's kid or something like that, but have not heard that. Let's see. Let me see if I can find for you some weird news, because news is always more fun when it's weird news. And let's see, and I'm sure I'll be able to find some. All right, let's say man in Pennsylvania, Jonathan Gerlach, is under arrest. Police say they found around 100 skeletons in his basement. Authorities are alleging that this man has been robbing mausoleums and selling some of the stuff, some of the human remains in the mausoleums, selling them online. So online So what? People are going online looking for human remains? This is sick. Where, that's not on Amazon, is it? Where would you? See, this is sick. These are the people that watch the Golden Globes, is they buy skeletons online. Let's see. A man in Poland. 36-year-old man got a tattoo of a red flower. And after he got the tattoo, he started experiencing severe itching, skin peeling, and a rash around the tattoo. Then it spread all over his body. He started losing his hair, and he gradually lost the ability to sweat. And they're attributing it to the ink, something in that ink. His hair has started to grow back, but he can't sweat, and he's using spray bottles of water to cool himself off. So Polish tattoo ink. Put that on your list of things to avoid. Polish tattoo ink.
Oh, only on News Radio 710 WNTM.
Uncle Henry Show here on News Radio 710 WNTM. It's 5:20. You can also watch the Uncle Henry Show live on YouTube if you would like to look at an older man standing at a microphone struggling to broadcast. Just look for Uncle Henry Show on YouTube and you can follow along live or look at it later. Telephone number for the Uncle Henry Show is 251-479-2723. That's 251-479-2723. Email address, unclehenry@iheartmedia.com. It's unclehenry@iheartmedia.com. And the man, we had the call in the first segment. A man was calling in asking about, he had heard some story about Dolly Parton possibly weighing in on the immigration enforcement around the country done by ICE. Now, I can't find any evidence of what the man called in and said he heard about Dolly Parton getting involved. But I looked because I wouldn't be surprised one way or the other, because a lot of the polling, I don't know if I believe any polling really, and maybe you don't either, but a lot of the polling in the country shows a lot of passion in the anti-ICE position right now. In fact, it's right about allegedly at 51% of Americans saying that ICE, that the tactics of ICE are too forceful. They're about 51%. How many issues can we be that divided on in the country where it comes down to almost 50-50? Somebody with more time than me needs to put together a list. There's way too many of these issues where seem to be right down the middle. But 51% thinking it's just too forceful. So I wouldn't have been surprised there, even though I'm not sure if I believe that poll or not. Again, 251-479-2723. That's 251-479-2723. Hello, caller.
Uncle Henry.
Yes, sir.
Thank you for taking my call. This is Roland.
Yes, sir, Roland.
I mean, I heard about Miss Parton there, Dolly. Why didn't nobody protest and throw up picket signs and march? Why didn't the Democrats do that when that lady got shot up there on January 6th at the White House? Why didn't they do it then? Why didn't they picket and say that the officer that shot her, he was guilty of murder? What happened with that?
It's a good question.
That's my question for today. All right, Uncle Henry. I told you that. Thank you, sir.
Wonderful to hear from you. Thank you for your phone call. 251-479-2723 is the telephone number. That's 251-479-2723. Email address, unclehenry@iheartmedia.com. You know, when these issues come up, and our last caller, Roland, I believe he said his name was, illustrating different reactions to things where the police are shooting somebody. Are we ready? Think about this. Are we anywhere closer in this country to some other political party forming? Think about that while I take this phone call. Hello, caller.
Hey, good evening, Uncle Henry.
Cliff. Hey, Cliff, by the way, happy belated anniversary to you and your lovely wife.
Thank you.
And what's on your mind today, Cliff?
About that poll.
Yeah.
I don't believe it's 50% of the people on one side that's caring about this. Most people have other things to worry about, and they don't buy into these things because we got a little bit too much other things to do.
Right.
And I found out here that Biden them, I guess a year or so ago, through USAID, they find out that they gave George Soros, his organization, $250 million taxpayer dollars to do what they're doing against ICE. A lot of that hatred and protesting and all of that stuff is paid for. The average citizen don't have time for that crap one way or the other.
True.
You know, even to the point that you don't speak ill of the dead. The leftists use people they call the ignorant masses and the useful idiots to do their dirty work. So they put these people out there in harm's way because they're too stupid to know that they're being used. There ain't no amount of money that will make me go up against the federal government, because I know I got enough sense to know that sometime soon I'm gonna get the horn.
That's right. I mean, didn't Joe Biden joke around about how if we wanted to push back against the government, they had tanks and jets?
Yes.
You remember that? Joe Biden was saying, hey, we got tanks and jets. Don't mess with us.
The Democrat Party went straight loony. This lady said that she was going to fire the Supreme Court. They don't understand the law, I don't think.
Well, there's a lot of wishful thinking going on or delusional thinking.
Yeah, and it don't come from the left. The left buy things, but they never buy the truth. They are deceivers, they are evil, they are everything else, but they're not going to tell the truth. Even in that poll, I don't think half the country, like I say, most people have to work every day and have a little common sense enough to know that somebody's doing something wrong. These people cannot stay out in the street every day, all day, unless they're getting paid to do it, Uncle Henry.
That's true.
But you have a blessed day, sir.
You too. Hey, Cliff, thank you very much. And again, happy wedding anniversary to Cliff and his lovely wife. 251-479-2723, the telephone number here on the Uncle Henry Show. I saw something on the X app this weekend where somebody caught up with one of the protesters in Minneapolis, a lady, and they asked her if she was there, if she was a professional protester, and she said no, she wasn't. And when then they started looking and finding her picture, they ended up tracking her to being at 100 other. She had attended 100 other protests in the country. So, and you know, you look at some of the video of the people protesting in our country these days. I wonder how many of them are retirees that are just traveling around, enjoying. Maybe they're living an RV lifestyle, traveling around and going and attending protests in various cities. just because they feel like it keeps them civically involved or something. I don't know. But meanwhile, I need to find a way to start my own business, printing up protest signs for these people. Maybe I make some money.
And we have some slowing on Highway 59. If you're traveling south from I-10 to Gulf Shores, it's a 50-minute drive. On Highway 31 north from Spanish Fort to Highway 59, it's a 16-minute drive. East on I-10 from I-65 to the Eastern Shore, it's a 15-minute drive across the Bayway. With Time Saver Traffic, I'm Lisa Bakke.
This report is sponsored by Wellness Unmasked with Dr. Nicole Saphier.
Your health deserves facts and not fear. Join me, Dr. Nicole Saphier, on Wellness Unmasked as we break down the latest health and wellness news and headlines, what matters, what doesn't, and what you need to know. Listen and subscribe to Wellness Unmasked on the iHeartRadio app or wherever you get your podcasts.
If you see traffic trouble, call the Acadian Windows traffic tip line at pound 250, keyword total traffic when prompted. Acadian Windows, your hurricane protection specialists.
Hi there, I'm Lenny Slagan from Fox 10 News with your brief update. A big day for the city of Mobile and Mobile Fire Rescue. Barry Glisson will officially be sworn in as the new fire chief. The Chief Glisson joining the department back in 2004 and has been recognized for his dedication and leadership. He's committed, he says, to maintaining a high level of service and is working on a plan to change how Mobile responds to 911 calls. During the ceremony, he announced the department is now fully staffed. Mobile Fire Rescue welcoming 27 new firefighters this week, bringing the total to 543. Alabama's legislative session kicks off tomorrow in Montgomery. Lawmakers are required to pass the state's general fund and education fund budgets, which last year totaled nearly $16 billion. With nearly 200 bills already pre-filed, we are expected to hear a lot about the death penalty, public safety, including efforts to reduce violence in schools, and potential mandatory post-election audits. Other topics include religious exemptions and banning gender discussion in Alabama classrooms. Lastly, Democratic Senator Mark Kelly is taking the Pentagon to court. The Arizona senator is suing the Defense Secretary Pete Hegseth, saying that he censured him. The reason? Kelly appeared in a video encouraging troops to resist unlawful orders. This censure could mean a demotion from his retired captain rank and a cut in his retirement pay. I'm Lenny Slagan from Fox 10 News and this iHeartRadio station.
This is News Radio 710 WNTM.
Fox News, I'm John Saucier. Minnesota's Attorney General Keith Ellison telling reporters the state's suing the Department of Homeland Security, claiming the federal government is retaliating against its policies.
The obvious targeting of Minnesota for our diversity, for our democracy, and our differences of opinion with the federal government is a violation of the Constitution and of federal law.
This, of course, comes after an ICE officer shot and killed a woman in Minneapolis last week. White House Press Secretary Caroline Leavitt on the Fox News channel criticizing those who are demonstrating against ICE.
They are actively trying to impede law enforcement operations and end the President Trump's mandate to deport illegal alien criminals from our communities.
Oregon's Democratic Senator Ron Wyden accused the Trump administration of inflaming violence by deploying thousands of masked agents into American cities. America's listening to Fox News.
YouTube viewers, thank you for looking in on the program. On YouTube, let me see who may or may not be looking. Oh, and I see we have a small number of people looking in. Hello to, I think Rick Henry is watching. Richard Harvey, there you are. Ben Griffin, an anti-communist party, I would join that. All right, well, thank you all for looking in. Please subscribe if you can. Now, is there anything I can tell you about before I go back on the radio? Back on the radio here in about 30 seconds. I was looking in the weird news file. Oh, I found a great weird news story out of India that I will have to tell on the air. For you, the YouTube viewer, there is a man in China, Zheng, Z-H-E-N-G, 23 years old. He found a folk remedy that claimed a leech could have mysterious, miraculous effects. And he decided to put the leech up his urethra into his bladder and had to have emergency surgery to get the leech out of his bladder. The leech went into his bladder, attached to the walls, and started releasing chemicals preventing blood from clotting, and it required emergency surgery to get the leech out of him. Don't put a leech up your urethra. That is my way of being useful to you, is giving you useful information.
Weeknights at 7 on News Radio 710 WNTM.
This is the Uncle Henry Show here on News Radio 710 WNTM. It is 5:35. You can also hear me, Uncle Henry, on FM radio. Monday through Friday, I'm on 95 KSJ between 10 and 2, playing today's hottest country. Tomorrow, I'll have your chance to win some tickets to 95 KSJ's Mardi Gras kickoff party. We're doing a big Mardi Gras kickoff to benefit St. Jude Children's Research Hospital. Yes, we raise money for St. Jude all year long, and we're going to be raising money for St. Jude Friday, January 23rd at the Merry Widow in downtown Mobile. Big gathering. We're going to have Cain's Merry Widows there. I'm going to be there. Shelby Mitchell's going to be there. We've got some country and Western musicians playing. Wes Loper, a local guy, is going to be playing. He's pretty good. And also Kelsey Hart, who is, we're playing a bunch of his songs on 95 KSJ. Kelsey Hart is going to be in Mobile performing at that party. They're going to have a live auction for St. Jude. One of the things you could bid on in the live auction is a spot to ride in a Mardi Gras parade, on a Mardi Gras float. So it's going to be a great way to raise money for St. Jude. If you would like to go, if you'd like to contribute to St. Jude, buy a ticket. You can get your tickets right now at 95ksj.com. That's at 95ksj.com. And if you would want to try and win a ticket, you can listen to me tomorrow on 95 KSJ. It'll be about 1:15 in the afternoon. It'll be right after 1 o'clock, around 1:15. I'll have your chance to win tickets to that big Mardi Gras kickoff party to benefit St. Jude Children's Research Hospital. Here we are again on the Uncle Henry Show. Telephone number 251-479-2723. That's 251-479-2723. Now, in the last half hour of the show, I talked about will there ever be a third political party in the country? I keep seeing issues that people are allegedly divided on 50-50. Or close to 50-50. And I heard another Gallup poll from Fox News today. And again, I don't know if I believe polls really at all anymore, but nonetheless, Fox News had a story about a Gallup poll about the number of people who identify as independent now growing. Here, this is very brief. Here is Fox talking about a record high of Americans rejecting Democrat and Republican and being independent.
A Gallup poll of more than 13,000 U.S. adults in 2025 finding a record high 45% identify as political independents, surpassing the 43% measured in 2014, 2023, and 2024.
Now, pause in there. Just think about that. If we can trust this, don't know if we can. They're saying, and this was a big poll when you're getting 13,000 people allegedly in the poll, 45% don't want to identify with either party. 45%. So that's why I know a third political party would be so incredibly hard to get going in a meaningful way in this country. And the number one reason, of course, is money. You got to have a ton of money to do something like that. In fact, I feel like the main purpose of both political parties is to generate money for these elections, for these candidates, and have the money in the ground game, get people elected around the country. So if you were going to have a third political party, it would take an enormous amount of money. Elon Musk would have to ask friends. Yes, he'd have to ask friends to chip in. But think about that. 45% don't even want to be associated with either party.
The data suggests younger adults are more likely to identify as independents, finding 56% of Gen Z adults identifying as independents today compares with 47% of millennials in 2012 and 40% of Gen X adults in 1992. And more political independents say they lean toward the Democratic Party than the Republican Party, with an average of 47% identifying as Democrats or saying they were independents who lean toward the Democratic Party, while 42% identify as Republicans or lean Republican. Gallup saying this breaks a 3-year stretch in which Republicans held an edge in party affiliation. Kristen Goodwin, Fox News.
Well, if any of that is true, 45% saying they're independent, that means it's wide open for people with good ideas. So both political parties might want to think about coming up with some even better ideas. I think President Trump tries to do that all the time. You've noticed it seems like every day there's 2 or 3 new proposals that he'll throw out there, not necessarily as executive orders, but just as ideas or proposals, just to see if they gain traction, see if people like them. I was looking at the YouTube comments on the live video of the show, and I saw one of our younger viewers out of Baldwin County, Ben Griffin, said that he would like to join an anti-communist party. That would be good. That would be good. I would like a political party. This is what I'd like. I'd like a political party that would tell the rest of the world, hey, we love you. We do. We love you, the rest of the world. And I know we do trade together. We just love you. But I'd pick a number of years. I'd say something like, for the next 5 years, you're going to have to do without our cash. Just for the, we're not going to leave you high and dry permanently, but just maybe a 5-year moratorium on our money. What would happen? Could the world survive without our money? To me, it doesn't look like it could. Which should astonish all the other people living in the other countries. But I'd like that from a political party. I'd like to get some people in office that would say, look, we love the rest of the world. We don't want to disengage with you. We still want to trade with you and be friends and help each other out. If a tidal wave or a volcano knocks something down, or we will help you and all that kind of stuff. But just if you could just make it without our money. Could you do it just for 5 years? There's a lot of countries I don't think they could make it. A lot of them. I mean, in fact, there's some countries that wouldn't be able to defend themselves. I realize this will never happen. It's just, that would be my fantasy of politics, is if we could just try to fix. We got so many problems going on in our own borders. If we could just fix some of those before we start running around and funding programs, for example, in Australian universities and things like that. If we could just handle the U.S. for just a little while, and then get back to the rest of the world and hand out money in exchange for whatever it is they're giving us back. 251-479-2723, the telephone number. That's 251-479-2723. Email address, unclehenry@iheartmedia.com. unclehenry@iheartmedia.com. Now, we got the legislature starting up this week. Now, there may be some good things that come out of the legislative session. I know that some people are anxious about this mud dumping legislation to stop mud from being dumped indiscriminately into the bay. So there could be some good legislation. Most of the time, though, I would be, and I've said it on the air to you, I would be in favor of our legislature not meeting every year. Do they need to be up there every year? Do we need new rules every year? Sometimes it looks like they're passing laws just so they can say they did something, when I don't know that we needed new rules. Could we take a year off from the legislature and look at existing rules and see if there are some that we forgot about that we ain't enforcing that might make life better if we would just enforce the things that are already on the books? Could we do that? Again, I know this is a fantasy, but I would love it if our legislature only met once every 2 years. I know the politicians would miss the attention. We'd be better off without them up there trying to figure out new ways to spend our money.
And we have some slowing on Highway 59. If you're traveling south from I-10 to Gulf Shores, it's a 50-minute drive. On Highway 31 north from Spanish Fort to Highway 59, it's a 16-minute drive. East on I-10 from I-65 to the Eastern Shore, it's a 15-minute drive across the Bayway. With Time Saver Traffic, I'm Lisa Bakke.
Lisa Bakke. YouTube viewers, thank you for looking. Let me see if there's any discussion on YouTube that I need to look at. Let's see. Yes, there are a small number of people looking. Pat Nelly. Hey, Ben Griffin. I have. How is Jesse Kelly's book? I am a fan of Jesse Kelly. How is his book? Anyway, while I wait for that to be, it's great okay, Chuck Greer, thank you. It's great reading. Appreciate that. Jesse Kelly is outstanding on the X app, by the way. Quite entertaining and insightful. Entertaining and insightful. Okay, I got a list for you while I'm waiting to go back on the radio. Because it's the beginning of 2026, the TSA has come out with a list of things that they have confiscated at airports across the country in 2025. So listen to this. These are all things that people got caught trying to take on airplanes in 2025, according to the TSA. Let's see, a handgun hidden in a guitar case. A BB gun concealed inside a suitcase lining. This was in Newark. In June, they found a BB gun hiding in the lining of the luggage. Also in Newark in December, they found ninja throwing stars. In Baltimore, Washington International Airport, a TSA officer found a passenger trying to sneak a stun gun disguised as a flashlight onto the plane. In Baltimore, also, the TSA found a knife disguised in a belt buckle. It was hidden in a belt buckle. Back in Newark, they found a comb There was also a knife. It had a knife in the comb. Another passenger in Baltimore. It seems like only the Baltimore Newark airports are reporting on this. In Baltimore, a passenger tried to sneak pills hidden inside a paper towel in their shoe. And back in October, TSA agents thought they saw a bomb, but it turned out it was actually a toy, a children's toy, that it was a children's switchboard. Now, where do people use switchboards these days? Anyway, it was a children's switchboard toy that had a lot of buttons and wires, and they thought it was a bomb, but it was a toy.
As we break down the fallout from the ICE shooting in Minnesota, what happens next in Venezuela, and how fast New York City could crumble with Mamdani in charge. Listen and subscribe to the Tudor Dixon podcast on the iHeartRadio app, Apple Podcasts, or wherever you get your podcasts.
Available everywhere with the iHeartRadio app. Now #1 for podcasting. This is News Radio 710, WNTN, an iHeartRadio station.
It is 5:50. Uncle Henry Show. We have news headlines coming up in 10 minutes and then more Uncle Henry Show. Telephone number if you want to call in, 251-479-2723. That's 251-479-2723. Email address, unclehenry@iheartmedia.com. That's unclehenry@iheartmedia.com. So we got the Alabama legislature going into session this week, and as I told you in the last segment of the show, I'd love it if it was once every 2 years, because they just seem to, even when they do good stuff, they find other reasons to spend our money. Now, I know that there's people want this mud dumping legislation passed to stop mud dumping indiscriminately into the bay. I'm in favor of stopping that myself. I hope that gets passed. Here, listen to this. Here's a brief story out of Huntsville, WAFF, of another bit of legislation. Now, this is one of those things where it sounds like to me a legislator was sitting around trying to think of something they could get passed. I don't know how big of a deal this is. Why do we need this legislation? This involves limiting the amount of screen time for children under the age of 5.
Session officially begins tomorrow, but before things kick off, we're letting you know about a bill that could impact both you and your children.
Yeah, one state representative is looking to limit screen time for children. 48's Claudia Peppenhorst joins us live in Huntsville this morning. And Claudia, if passed, this screen time bill would only impact child care facilities that receive public funding.
So this is for child care facilities.
Yeah, this bill has no impact on what your children can do at home.
So it has nothing to do with how much time your kid looks at a phone or a TV or a iPad or whatever in your house.
However, State Representative Gina Ross says a key part of her bill is educating parents on the dangers of screen time exposure at such a young age. Now, under HB 78, the Department of Early Childhood Education would develop guidelines for appropriate screen time use in early childhood education settings, like licensed facilities, certain pre-K classrooms, and public kindergarten classrooms.
So they wanting to limit screen time in kindergarten and pre-kindergarten. Now, is this an issue? Are little kids going to preschool and just staring at screens? I mean, is this, to me, this sounds like somebody sitting around saying, well, I wish I had a bill. I wish I had a good bill to get in there and maybe I can get on TV with my bill. This only, and it would only affect the places that get government money.
It would also require certain teachers and staff to undergo annual training on the subject. Representative Ross says research.
Where would you find training on how much you would have to have annual screen time for 4-year-old training. No, does that exist? Or would somebody create that training and get a government contract to implement it? Maybe I need to make a note. This could be a good side gig of mine. Yeah, I could take a few vacation weeks every year and go teach teachers how to stop kids from looking at their iPad when they're 3 years old at the preschool.
Shows excessive screen time impacts young brain development, particularly when it comes to language. Ross says this later translates to early literacy problems.
The bottom line is that we want to make sure that our children, particularly our youngest children, birth to age 5, are not
birth to age 5
being exposed to excessive screen time.
Well, is this so? Give me an example of when this has been a problem. Can we find somebody that can't read in the 3rd grade, and we can trace it back to some preschool worker, put an iPad next to them when they were 3 years old, and for some reason they watch too much. I don't know what do kids watch today. I'm sure probably aliens from other countries or some. You know what I'm talking about. Every time I stopped watching when. What were those things called from Australia? Those Australian children's shows that look so weird. You know what I'm talking about. So where was this a problem? No, this was this is an example. We need the legislature in session just once every 2 years, because this was a legislator just sitting around thinking, well, I wonder how I could come up with a bill, get myself on television, and it sounds like it's really important, but I'm going to make sure that 2-year-olds are not being handed iPads, or they might not be able to read, and they'll end up robbing me at the convenience store. What? This is ridiculous. All right, anyway. Let's hope that the legislature has a good and productive session, and that they don't come up with any reason at all to spend any more of the tax dollar. All right, coming up. We have news headlines and then more Uncle Henry Show. I got a voicemail last week about my former call screener, Ariel. And so I'm going to bring her in here, and we're going to do a new edition of Dear Ariel. That is coming up after the news break here on WNTM.
Fox on Tech. Generative AI continues to push the limits of both free communication and good taste. Elon Musk
pushing now. Who cares about good taste now? Maybe they can file some legislation about good taste on generative AI. All right, I'm turning the camera off, but the Uncle Henry Show continues with me and Ariel coming up on AM radio. Thank you for watching. I will be back here tomorrow at the regular time on YouTube.
Appropriate content calling into question matters of consent, harassment, and even digital stalking. Both the company and Musk personally condemned the use of the tech in this fashion, and now the European Union is demanding xAI retain records and documentation about the chatbot and the incident pending investigations it may order.